So, ladies, you're all very welcome to this
Thank you, Patricia.
Yes, to this webinar series. Emma, you will take over at this point and introduce everyone else, and then we can go on with the conversation about how African farmers are innovating during these difficult times of COVID-19. So, Emma, over to you.
Hello, everyone. And
hello.
The biggest question, hello, how are you? Now, the biggest
Fine.
question is, how have we been able to innovate ourselves or to distribute food amid this COVID lockdown? And we as women, we need to see and discuss what we've been going through, what challenges we've had or what innovations we've had. With us, we have 3 guests. One is Mashumba Ramisho from Zimbabwe. She's a very innovative lady, very resilient, and very hardworking. And she's someone who is out there to make sure that every single woman on planet Earth gets a fair share, especially in farming, in terms of access to finance, access to inputs, and access to land. Then our other guest is Sylvia Tete from Ghana. She's a mediator or a coordinator for the Ghana Chamber of Agriculture. And she helps farmers link, she's a link between the farmers and the education platforms. We also have Patience Koku from Replenish Farms. This is in Nigeria. She's a very other resilient person, and actually right now she's at the farm. Welcome, everyone. Sylvia.
Thank you.
Can you tell us what you've gone through? Oh, I forgot to tell you, this is Emma, the host. Emma Naliuma. I'm a smallholder farmer, and I stay in Uganda. And I practice integrated farming. You are all welcome. Enjoy the webinar. Sylvia, can you tell us what you've gone through? When did the lockdown start in Ghana?
Okay, for Ghana, we recorded our first 2 cases on the 12th of March. And all these cases were imported cases from Norway and then Turkey. After we recorded these 2 cases, the government came in to address the nation on measures or the way forward since the record. So what happened was the government gave us 2 days lean period for us to put our homes in order in terms of food packaging, making sure we have essential tools to curb ourselves during the lockdown. So after the 2 days, we went to lockdown, and 3 places were affected during the lockdown. That was Greater Accra, Greater Kumasi, and then the Kaswa municipality. Greater Accra, Kumasi, we recorded our first cases. So we were told to restrict the spread of COVID-19 within the community. We were asked to stay home to help the government in terms of contact tracing. So that was when we went on lockdown after the 12th of March, when we recorded our 2 cases.
Okay, so what have you gone through, as in what have you're a farmer as well, so tell us what you've done, you yourself, to make sure that you're in the lockdown, but you're quite innovative, and you are actually, you're not really enjoying it, but you are, maybe you're a better person, or you're making other people better in this, this lockdown. We want to see the innovations you've come up with.
Okay, so during the lockdown, for me and my family, we do practice a backyard farming where we grow tomatoes, okra, and then pepper. So we use the period of lockdown to prepare our lands, make sure we apply organic manure onto the soil to enrich it for the rainy season. One thing is, most of our farming activities in terms of farmers in Ghana are rain-fed. We do not have, some people do have irrigation systems to help them during the farming season. But those who do not have irrigation system and rely on the rain, we wait until the rainy season. That is June, ending May, June, to start our planting. So that was what I particularly did during the lockdown, making sure that my backyard farm is being tilled and prepared. But for some of the women I interact with or I engage with during the lockdown, those who were selling were using mobile phone and then social media platforms to sell. So they became innovative. They realized people couldn't move out to access food. So one of the best ways is to use the mobile phone. And in Ghana, most of the people own phones. It's either an Android phone that supports app to WhatsApp or a test phone that they can use to make calls. So most of the women took to social media where they were advertising their products. So if you see anything online, I belong to one of the groups in Ghana, African Women in Agribusiness, sell most of.
Okay, we seem to have lost her.
Hello.
Sylvia?
Hello.
You said you belong to the African women?
In agribusiness.
Okay.
Yes, so most of the women farmers over there is made up of women group. So most of the women over there, women in agriculture and women in agribusiness, women who are in charge of smallholder farmers. So most of the women in the were using to sell their produce was the WhatsApp platform and referrals. So if they have anything, they put it on the platform to let you know that, okay, they have okra available. And if you're interested, you can dial this number and you have your okra delivered at your doorstep. So through the means of mobile phone, they were able to get clients and the use of dispatch riders. It became very useful during this COVID time, the use of dispatch riders, because if you purchase online through WhatsApp or through a phone call, the dispatch rider will come to your doorstep to deliver, so that it will prevent you from moving to your community to make purchases. And during the lockdown, military personnel and of security personnel were put out there to see to it that people conform to the law. Any directive that was given by the president, there were security personnel out there to enforce the law. So dispatch riders became valuable during this COVID time, and then the use of mobile phones. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. Thank you. That was very, very good. Now let's hear from Mashumba Ramiso.
Well, hello everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today and to share our experience here in Zimbabwe. So our lockdown began on the 31st of March. I remember I was driving to the farm in a late evening, and I heard on the radio our president addressing the nation that it was a Friday, and he said from on Monday, there will be a total lockdown. So as farmers, we were not prepared for this. It was sudden, I think, for the whole nation. I remember we had to prepare. Everyone was in a panic. But, you know, unfortunately, something that we saw is that some farmers who live in very remote areas got this information a little bit late. So our first initial weeks, we had a total lockdown for 3 weeks where no one left the house. And the farmers who live very far had, you know, who supply fresh vegetables, were some of them already in transit. And when they arrived in the markets, they were told the markets were closed. So we had a really devastating a few initial weeks, because, you know, when you're a farmer, you plant to supply 365 days a year or for whatever certain period of time. And any disturbance is a huge loss, especially for smallholder farmers, especially those ones. Imagine that they had reached time of selling their produce and had invested so much money. So there was a lot of loss that happened in the first few weeks. For myself personally, on the farm, I was in we are in a dry period right now in Zimbabwe, but this is our winter, we're in our winter months. So we were preparing to plant wheat. So there was that disturbance because I was supposed to put down wheat. Wheat planting is the first 2 weeks of May. And with the lockdown, we didn't know what to do. Our suppliers, who supply us with the inputs, had all sort of were not really communicating because they were not sure how severe this was. What did the lockdown mean? So there was a little bit of that panic, and I was a little bit behind even with my irrigation. I was trying to set up some of my irrigation. Some of my support services were closed down, and then about after the second week, the president then issued another press statement to say that essential workers are allowed to now move with an essential workers letter. So I was allowed to now go to my research center, which is where we go to get our contract for our wheat supplies. And then I was also able to, they also managed to fast track quite a lot of things because our contract farming, we do it with a bank. The bank even came to us, and there were certain things that we didn't have to go physically to the bank to do. So there was quite a lot of innovating for us wheat farmers, but which was really good. Probably also because wheat farmers in Zimbabwe, we are accountable. We are like about maybe 100 and something. I'm not quite sure the figure, but we're not that many growers of wheat. So we were able to get support very fast to get our inputs, to get everything we needed. But generally, life on the farm, there was a lot of sensitization that we had to also do to our community, because sometimes there's so many cases where even access to water, not everyone has in their homes tap water. So there was even just trying to educate people on washing hands and things like that. So there was a lot that happened during this time. Something that I also noted during this COVID was just the lack of access to infrastructure in our rural communities, something like Wi-Fi connectivity. I actually now have installed Wi-Fi on the farm, but before I didn't. And I realized the importance of it with the lockdown, that we weren't able to communicate as efficiently as we want to. So it's been a very interesting time, Dr. Emma, this COVID time, and really it had its negatives, and also some of the, it's also forced us to innovate and to move forward with technology. Thank you.
Wow, that is nice. At least your farm is now connected to the world. And you can easily you can easily talk to your either herdsmen or the people who work with you. You can easily communicate with them, because here the challenge we have is that, what happened? I wanted to call you. My phone had a low battery, or I didn't have network. I didn't have this, and then for some reason, business doesn't go on. But now with the fully connected Wi-Fi, you can still do business, even with or without being at the farm. Yes, Patience, I hope you've got network now. Patience, you are muted.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, so I think it's better. I can hear you clearly. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, so tell us about the lockdown in Nigeria.
Okay, yeah, so it's been a very interesting time. It's been a very interesting year. I think the lockdown began in my city where I live on the 30th of March. So we basically, everything shut down more or less by the 30th of March. And for us here in Nigeria, the planting season, that's about the time that the planting season begins. So the first couple of weeks, we were all confused as to how to get about, and really because the definition of essential services wasn't also clear, that it seemed like it was healthcare workers and so on that were given a pass. We waited and were hoping that farmers would get passes, but when that didn't happen, we on our own, because we had to now form new partnerships, we were able to get a pass from the army, and so that's how we were able to start to commute to try to get to prepare for the season. It's been quite challenging, and the COVID-19 has basically exposed a lot of the inefficiencies in the systems, because we were so, I don't know, dependent on so many things that were not available any longer. And I think what we've had to do mostly is self-help. You know, find ways to find, I don't know, I don't know if innovative is the word, but just find ways to keep going in spite of the things that we couldn't get access to. Well, so while still in the lockdown, we had to start planting. So the planting season began. And we found that because now usually we use service providers. So we would contract a company to come plow the fields, plant, and so on. And we couldn't do that this year. So we had to look for alternative ways to begin to do all of that. In fact, we had to really reinvent our planting methods and start to use walk behind push planters to drill holes. We had to manually plant some of the crop. It's been a different kind of experience, but we're pulling through, and in spite of the inefficiencies of systems that we have, and because we also live in a country that's very import dependent, it's been difficult because a lot of our agricultural input is imported. So we've had a lot of things don't come as quickly or as consistent as they used to. And in farming season where the rain is the boss, we've had to look for alternative ways to get whatever we need. If you can't get if we can't get something, if we can't get fertilizers in, we look for alternatives.
We've lost her.
And see who has access to manure to keep afloat. But can you hear me?
Okay, now we can, but earlier we were not.
Okay. So I hope you heard most of what I said, though.
Yes, we had, but then you stopped at telling us how you are import dependent, and then we kind of lost you there.
Okay, so yeah, so I said that, so because we then are not getting access to a lot of the input supplies that we need when we need them, we've had to find alternatives. So if we couldn't get some fertilizers in, we quickly find a way to use organic way to get that. So we've just had the way we plant and so on, just to be able to get the season going. Because I mean, a lot of the lockdown, we were basically at the beginning of the planting season, so that was quite challenging. But we found ways to work around it.
And you'll be amazed at what you're going to get if you got enough manure from from the animals. It will be first of all organic, so you're going to actually sell your produce as organic. That is more dollars or more naira. Okay, that's naira. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. But Patience, you told us the system was inefficient. So what are those inefficient systems you're talking about?
I think that for me, really, that if you have first of all, if we had a lockdown, and I believe that food is an essential service. I mean, whether processors or food producers, immediately you would think that the government will say, okay, we need to make sure that farmers access their farms, especially since it's the beginning of a planting season. But that didn't happen. And it took a while before the meeting started to take place to see how to actually, but then by then the lockdown was eased anyway. But then for us, really, I think for me, what has come out of COVID-19 is the fact that Nigeria, and I think many African countries, correct me if I'm wrong, are so import dependent for a lot of major things. And I think that because food is essential to life, you cannot afford to be in a position where a lockdown like this happens and you cannot get access to food. So I think that because we also import not only finished food, I mean, we import probably the highest quantity of wheat and rice and even corn, you know, and so a lot of that has let me give you a simple example. corn is at a record 180,000 naira, which is somewhere almost $500 a ton. Now, this is going from about a quarter of the price last year. Now, corn is a staple, so many people eat corn. I mean, on the average, whether poor, middle class, or I mean, the rich maybe don't eat corn, but poor, and I mean, so it's a very important crop. So if corn is selling for 500 naira, I mean $500 per ton locally, that means that a lot of people really can't eat. So for me, it's just the fact that if we had a production that was not so dependent on what happens, because the imports really basically supplemented our production. And so when it comes in, the prices kind of stay stable or even go too low. So, I mean, if we had an efficient system, food production system, where we were at a basic, irrespective of what happens in the world, we would probably be in a better place.
Okay, that's nice. Let me give you a story. I've listened to all of you, and surprisingly in Uganda, this is what happened in Uganda. For the very first time, farmers were considered essential. So we're like, yeah, we were really essential. So we're the essential. Everyone was locked down, but farmers were left to move. So that was a tick for us. So while everyone was looking for stickers and doing we were busy farming. And then they would allow, because the lockdown started with the schools, the lockdown started on the 20th. And then with the school, the lockdown started on the 20th. And then with the rest of the lockdown started on the, I think on the 23rd. 23rd, that's where everyone was closed out. And because everyone was closed out, but the farmers were late to move. So we could move anyhow. And then it, of course, started from 6:30 to 7:30. From 6:30 to 7:30. 6:30 in the morning and 7 p.m. That's when it would start. And then, I mean, that's when it would end. But our cars were allowed because many people's farms are very far. So they are asked to, there's a curfew. But then if you come and you have your truck, either you have a hoe, you have some things to use, they will let you in because they know you've come from very far and then you need to come back home or to go to the farms. And then another thing that we were given is, we were allowed to move anyhow, and then all stores were open, all inputs for the farm, all farm inputs were open. So chemicals, drugs, and everything. Even veterinary services were open. So farmers were the first people to be, Hello?
Hello, Emma, looks
Hi.
like we are losing you.
Okay, farmers were the first people to be asked to move. And then the other, are you guys seeing me?
No, we can't see you.
No.
Oh, let me look for my technician. Okay?
Okay. But
Okay, but you can hear me.
yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. I will talk while you're hearing me.
Okay.
Anyway, so farmers were the first people I can't see, they can't see me. So farmers were asked to move around, and then we could move, and then we could sell our produce. And then the other thing is that much as other people would not move, the rest of us would move. And then we were also, most farmers were using WhatsApp or the delivery vans, like you've said. So I, for one, let me give you an example. I, for one, this is what I used to do. Before we moved, or before the lockdown, people used to still come and buy food from me, buy pork and all that. I don't know what is happening with the video, but anyway, technology.
Mm. So Emma, let's just give you a bit of time for you to sort yourself out as we continue to hear from other people. Patience, You have told us how you have tried to work with the challenges that have come your way. It was planting time, and you had to find different ways of planting this time. But how about moving crops from farm to market? Sylvia told us in Ghana that dispatch riders filled in that space. What happened in Zimbabwe? What has been going on in Nigeria in your specific communities in terms of distribution of food? And Emma
For
is
us,
back,
well,
so
okay. Yeah, so we're
No,
not
please,
at,
Patricia, go ahead. Patience, go ahead.
okay. So, I mean, for me, really, we're not at harvest yet, so we're planting. But what has happened for farmers who were farming crop that were coming in, I mean, during the lockdown, was that it was extremely challenging because there was no specific special pass for for food or for agri produce. And so a lot of people lost. In fact, there was a guy who told me that he had him from the South Abuja, and they lost the entire truckload. The food challenge, it hasn't been, I mean, eventually farmers sell as close to themselves as possible. In the past, you would maybe consider sending it far because you probably get a better price. But for now, it's, but for now, can you hear me really? I'm
Yeah, we
wondering
can
if,
now.
okay. So for most people, it's just basically finding markets around. I know that a lot of the dispatch people have had more business, but mostly on finished produce and so on. Like, I mean, people who sell stuff for bakers and so on. But in terms of really getting farmers getting food out, it's been more difficult than for a lot of people because the restrictions were pretty tight. So moving from one state to the other was basically an impossible task. We are still even experiencing it with fertilizers because it's been very difficult getting fertilizers from the state where the bulk of the nitrogen is produced in Nigeria to the rest of the country. So, I mean, dispatch, yes, but that has still been a big challenge for farmers.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, before I went off, this is what I was telling you. And then now, most farmers are using WhatsApp groups. I even use it as well. So I send my friends messages that before I used to still send my messages to these people. But the funny thing when we went into the lockdown, the beautiful bit is that everyone is locked down, but they must eat. So people kept calling in, are you slaughtering pork? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? And yes, it was a planting season. So, and God helped us, it rained. So we're planting, but then remember, some of us plant all year round. So there are other things that we have available. And I had planted for the school as well, but remember the school has been closed. So I had a lot of produce and I was not selling, I hadn't been used to selling it out. So this is what I did. I used to sell to my neighbors. First, I started as saying, oh, neighbor, can you please have this? And I was just trying to show them that, oh, we have this, we have this. So the first is to give them, oh, I've harvested this. And then they started asking, oh, do you have? Do you have? Do you have? And then that's how I started selling to my neighbors. And then the other people far off, we used to use the border borders or the dispatch guys where you still send. And the beauty with this, that if someone still calls out for you, for your services, and they will pay for them, they will pay for the food, but they'll also pay for the transport to deliver the food to them. So it was something very interesting. And then also, remember, farmers here were having issues with trying to get market, as in you call someone. But then because of the social media, they ended up putting a lot of Facebook and WhatsApp groups, and they take pictures of whatever they're doing and they sell. And also there's also the e-commerce. So a lot has been going on here. People have embraced the e-commerce a lot. And I, for one, actually opened up a platform called Agricatale. Agricatale is agriculture market. And we are still helping farmers out there who are very far, who can still not sell or who don't have access to maybe Wi-Fi or internet. So we send someone there to take pictures of their produce, and then they connect to this platform. Now, for the first 6 months, this platform is free. So they just join in and people come in and see whatever they have. And then they send messages to them either on WhatsApp or email or Facebook, can you please deliver? And they deliver. And we are seeing it working very, very well. The beauty with it is cutting off the middleman is very good, but you know, he takes he takes half your profit. So farmers are now enjoying, with the e-commerce, there's no one taking your profit. So it is from farm directly to the consumer. And the beauty with it, it even goes high. They are the small scale people, or the people getting small things like for one home or two. But then also there's where we send to bulk in terms of like maybe dispatch companies or holding you know, where they're going to sell to another big place. So that's what will happen. That's what one of the innovations in this COVID time that I've been able to do, that we've put up a platform for e-commerce where all these farmers, smallholder farmers, and even the big farmers come on and we sell our produce. Yeah. So Mashumba Ramisho, you told us about, you had some challenges. I know we all had challenges, but we need to find out, you know, it's not good to, like Patience said, they had a challenge of fertilizer. So if they didn't have fertilizer, it was not imported. What was the next step? She went for organic, and I've said, you'll be shocked at what you're going to find.
Okay, so for us, well, we went through lots of challenges. One of them was distribution of product from one area to the next. The first 3 weeks of lockdown, you know, most people were trading amongst themselves because we were told that we can only travel within 5-kilometer radius of your house. So which means that's where you go and buy your products as well. So we initially had a challenge where some places where there was a shortage of onions, and can you believe that one onion at one time was going for $1 US? One onion. It was crazy. Yeah, just because of shortages, you know, supply. But what people have managed to do now is, there were some platforms that were already there, but people weren't really taking them seriously. Like we have this platform in Zimbabwe called Fresh in a Box, for example. So Fresh in a Box, what they do is that they deliver fresh vegetables to households, and they had an essential workers paper. So most supermarkets, like in the city, were not, they did not have a good supply of vegetables. But then they could order online. So you just check, they've got a very easy platform. You would just click online, and then they would supply all your vegetables, and then farmers would just supply them, and then they do the distribution. I'm so sorry about my lighting. It's slightly changed because my laptop battery started dying, so I had to put it on the charger. So so now people are using a lot of this. So there are now a lot of these innovations. Today on Facebook, I was seeing one called something like about dairy supply. So they supply your milk, your cheese, your butter. You just order from them. So these are innovations. Before, we never thought that we were there as a country. We thought, you know, you want to go to the shop and pick your own eggs, your own milk. But now people are seeing the importance of some of these platforms that you can actually order online and get it delivered to your house. Food, you can order some food takeout because you don't have to go out. It also minimizes people just moving around. So there's a higher uptake of technology, definitely, because of COVID. And as farmers, we're also now seeing that we don't necessarily have to go to the market direct, because, you know, you're so accustomed to your ways until you're put under pressure. You're so accustomed to, if you're growing your carrots, you're so accustomed to going to a certain place to sell. But now you have to look at how can I actually get it to the market, to the customer in an easier way. So I think it's not 100% uptake yet, because, you know, there are some really remote areas where even, because when I was talking about internet, but the quotations, my cost of internet connectivity is much, much, much higher than it is in the city. You know, when I wanted to get fiber, they quoted me, I got a quotation for $100,000 at one stage. I had to keep on looking around. I know it's crazy, but you know, the cost of internet in rural areas is much, much more expensive, and the people, most people cannot afford internet. So the uptake is not yet there, but we are moving. I think as a country, I would say we're moving towards looking at how we can innovate to make supply our supply of produce better. And even there's even now virtual markets where on Saturdays with like Zimbabwe Farmers Union, they have a virtual market where you send your pictures and then they market for you virtually, and then exchange of contact details. So you don't really have to go to a certain place to sell. So we have had challenges which are coming up with solutions. And even banking, people are now using more virtual banking services than actually just going out and making payments. So we're not yet quite there yet, but I think we could say COVID is the new normal, is the new use of understanding technology better and realizing that it's necessary for us as a continent to remain viable, because as farmers we have to remain viable. We cannot remain doing things of the past. We need to look at what technologies are out there, and we need to uptake them as fast as possible.
Yeah, I thank you very much. That's very, very interesting. And I think like COVID was a wake-up call for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things, like Ramisha said, we need to change. Like someone here on the chat, Susanna says, they used to sell fresh moringa and neem, but now they're selling, because there were no people buying, they needed to find a way to preserve it. And what are they doing now? They're selling it dry. They package it and sell it dry. And then because you are doing value add, so there's a lot of value add going on. And I keep telling people here at home that, you know what? Who said, you know, we always grow corn and we think corn is for people to eat only, and then you have to make, in here we call it posho, and just porridge and posho. But then there's so many things that you can do with corn. Like you can do cornflakes, you can do, and all these people abroad, the people in the European countries, that's how they began, is that they produced too much and they needed to do it. There was no one maybe to use it, and then that they ended up having to preserve or process or do value add. So to me, much as we've gone through a lot of these challenges, maybe, but it was a wake-up call for us to make sure that we do value add, because I know we like eating fresh stuff, but then if it's not fresh, or there are no people taking it up, then let's do the other way to preserve it better, so that we can even prevent post-harvest losses. Yes, Sylvia.
Hello, Dr. Emma.
Yes. So tell us, I know you already told us about the WhatsApp groups and the social media, but what other things you think, as you're talking, how are you meeting your women? Because you are a mediator there, and then we're having issues. You can't keep meeting them every day. How do you discuss? Are you still going to them, or how are you connecting, and how are you advising them in this COVID time?
Okay, Dr. Emma, prior to COVID, I was in the rural community. I was in the Okre district, that's in the eastern region, and I was talking to opinion leaders and then women in agriculture, so that we could have a training session to sensitize them on improved seeds available. So during that time, COVID was out of Ghana. So we were hearing of it. It was in the news and it was something new. We thought it was far from us because it's in Asia. So there's no way it will get to Africa because we have the sun. And we were priding ourselves with the sun during COVID time. So it was after a week or so, that was when we were told the thing has entered into our country. So we have to go on lockdown. So most of the activities in terms of training had to be put on hold because there was restriction on movement, there was restriction on public gathering. So you can't meet more than a number of that, or quite inside. And understanding was also a challenge, because when the directives came in, they came in batches. So at first, all we knew was everything is on lockdown. Nobody aside essential workers, such as those in the health services, pharmaceuticals, those who were selling food in terms of the supermarkets, and then the market square were allowed to be there. So understanding COVID, the lockdown, social distancing, that's the new word. And it was something that we found difficult understanding, because, you know, in Ghana or in Africa, we are social beings. We say hello by heart, we say hello by handshaking. So if you say social distancing, what do you mean by social distancing? So it has been a challenge, but now most of the activities that is being organized by the Chamber of Agribusiness has moved online to sensitize farmers and to educate farmers. And then to add to what Patient said, you know, with our economy, which is import-driven economy, where most of the things we consume sometimes are imported. Even in terms of input is imported. And farmers sometimes rely on tractors to plow their lands and to prepare their lands for harvest. During COVID, our borders were closed, so nothing was coming in terms of tractor parts, in terms of vehicle and other machinery parts. So it also came in at unexpected time to also affect farmers. Even those who have imported stuffs, especially people who were in charge of importing spare parts, they were hit. And then in terms of input, our poultry sector, farmers who depend on day old chicks were also affected. So for COVID, I would say COVID has had its impact on the Ghanaian farmers. And it has also taught us how to innovate during these trying times. It has taught us to shift our preferences in terms of taste. Because if you come to Ghana, we import a lot of rice. Most people love jasmine rice. They'll prefer foreign rice to local rice because of their taste and preference. So COVID has taught us to innovate, even in terms of seed quality. If you are to give farmers the same old seed, it's going to affect their production. And consumers will always be consumers who prefer certain commodity to another commodity. So for me, I feel COVID is time that even as government agencies, as facilitators, as NGOs or organizations, it's time we make sure that we innovate, even in terms of seed, in terms of means, with our alien supply chain, how farmers get access to things. We need to find a way to bridge that gap. In terms of fertilizer, we need to find a way and bridge that gap. In terms of transport, because during COVID, intercity movement was restricted. How were these farmers who have harvested their crops, some of them who produce all year round, restaurants who were buying bulky from these farmers were also not producing. So if a restaurant who buys from farmers are not selling, then most of their produce will go waste. And some of them were forced to even sell at a lesser price to off-takers. Because how do you get to see the people to sell to? So with COVID, it has really forced us to innovate, become online addicted. For me, I've become really online addicted. Now, every minute I have to be online and be checking what is going on and what is coming in. So those are some of the things, the challenging things, and the ways we've innovated around COVID.
So the new normal. The new normal is online.
Yeah.
The new normal is saving. We've learned how to save. And we've learned how to save in terms of time, because the farmers don't have to go to the market to look for they don't have to leave their farms to go to the market to look for either to sell. You use online to make sure that you either sell or buy. So farmers and consumers save a lot of time. Then you also save in terms of maybe seed. I know we depend, like you said, you've been depending a lot of input, but then these seed varieties can be used, or we can use science again, because I don't know if in your countries, but in Uganda, it was all scientists were essential as well. The farmer was the first essential worker. And then the next time, after a week or two, they said, oh, all scientists are essential. So this is the time for us as Africans to use scientists to even try to innovate in terms of, okay, fine, we cannot import anymore, but what do we do in between here? How are we going to make sure that we use what we have before we go, because first of all, it's locked down, so it can't be imported. So what do we have with seed qualities? So we need to use all the science, the scientists and the science they have to do research. Like Ramisho said that when they opened up, she had to go to the Science Council, science something. There's some place she goes to, the research center. So we need to use it, like I said, so many things happened, but again, it was a wake-up call for us to use these centers, okay? Like Patience, for me here, actually, I sell my dung. I sell it very expensively, and they buy it. So I sell a kilo at $1, a kilo of pig dung or something. It goes for $1, and I process it, I dry it, and then sell it. I package it, and then I sell it. So these are some of the things we need to do as farmers, as people who have gone to school. Those of us who haven't gone to school, like Sylvia is there to help the rest of the farmers who haven't gone to school. She links them up. And when she links them up, that's the time she tells them, oh, look here, we can do ABCD. Now, with the lack of fertilizers, before I came in, I was with, we planted chili. And when we planted chili, this chili was for us to eat or to sell. And then there are no people consuming it. So we are going to make fertilizer out of chili, okay? No, not fertilizer, a pesticide out of chili. So these are some of the things we need to use that we can use, okay? That we can help. These are some of the innovations. As you lack, I keep saying that when you lack, you think. So when you lack, that's the time for you to say, what should we do, okay? I think we are running out of time, so we need to have, we need about 15 minutes or so. And this is about the time for us now to, every one of us is going to answer 1 or 2 questions, or to tell us about policy interventions that we recommend to ensure that these effects of COVID-19 don't actually be diverse or don't affect us until further notice. We can start with Mashumba.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emma. I think I would say that the policies that we need is, we need to have an affordable technology uptake. Government needs to plan how can they make technology uptake affordable in rural areas. I don't know how they would format, they would craft that policy, but to allow for affordability in rural areas so that uptake is, especially because the people who are affected during COVID are very vulnerable. And we've really realized that our rural communities are very vulnerable. So I'd say we need to craft a policy around access to technology being affordable in rural communities.
Okay, Patience? Patience, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I unmuted now. I hope, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I think that for me, one of the things that I would like to see in terms of policy is the fact that the governments see the urgency in agriculture. So if we are hoping to be able to grow agriculture, especially in Africa, in the parts where we are, it's necessary for government policy interventions to be inclusive of everything. So whether we're allowing technologies regarding seeds, or whether it's like Ramiso was saying in terms of access to data or you know, being able to get Wi-Fi, whatever it is, right? There's an urgency now, and we realize that we have to grow our agriculture to the point where we can feed ourselves. So everything that we can use, it's important to know now that it's very important to have factories that produce locally. So what government policies can help to bring these investments to come, you know, very quickly. So I think that for me, any policy that is allowing for inclusiveness of every single tool in the box. I think what COVID has shown us is that, you know, if you depend on other countries to feed you, it can be very dangerous. If you have a shutdown or the whole world is locked down, the first thing people do is feed themselves first before feeding other people. So policy must be urgent, number one. We cannot take a million years to determine what next. And then whatever policies must be addressed to getting us, you know, the best of everything very quickly. Best of seeds. We now see the need for us to have seeds that produce more on a small field. We just basically need everything. We need to be able to say, okay, organic, does it work? Inorganic, whatever. But let's make sure that we're growing more food quickly.
Yeah, Sylvia?
Okay, to add to what they've said, we need to have an insurance scheme for our farmers. Something that absorbs the shock anytime they are hit by unforeseen circumstances like COVID. If there's an insurance scheme that backs these farmers, anytime something befalls them, they know, okay, this is it. They can rely on the government to give them a source of cushion to be able to bounce back. This will make the agricultural sector attractive, because when someone, let's say a beginner goes into farming and is hit by, let's say COVID, let's take COVID because we are in COVID, and the effect on the person is adverse, the person will need that form of encouragement to bounce back. So can we have an insurance scheme that cushions these farmers? If the government can have this insurance scheme, and for it to be even effective, we will need to build our database system. In terms of knowing the number of farmers we have, there needs to be consistency in terms of data, because if we don't have data, one of the things I realized during COVID was data. The government was trying to feed the most vulnerable people in the community, because most of our people are in the informal sector. And because data wasn't available, they were unable to reach the people who needed these things most. So if we can have a database system that keeps track of all these farmers, they know the land in terms of acre, they know where a farmer is and the source of support they can give to that farmer. It will help. So we need a policy that cushions our farmers, so that we'll be able to feed ourselves. Because if COVID doesn't go, when we pray COVID goes, for us who are import dependent, I wonder how we are going to get our other source of food from to supplement what we produce in our country. So we need something, a policy that cushions our farmers.
Wow, we've got, thank you everyone. We've got just a few minutes and I've been looking at the chat. I don't know if all the other participants, I mean, I'm seeing so many other participants, but I'm seeing few questions. So I wonder why either we've been good panelists or something is not right. Okay, we just have a few minutes, but there was a question. We have about 6 minutes. Let me answer this question, something to do with the challenges we found when we are running the e-commerce or the agriculture market, e-commerce agriculture market. Now the challenge, of course, is first of all data, like everyone has said, but then the other challenge is you know, having organized groups. Dealing with individual farmers sometimes is good, but then it's not so nice. So the best would be to use cooperatives. But then the challenge we had at that time or this time is that in Uganda earlier on, there used to be cooperatives, but then they kind of phased out and people were just beginning to have them again. And many of them were just, as the lockdown came, many of them were just opening up. So we had issues, or we are still having issues of having many people on board who are in a cooperative, because it's easy to work with a cooperative than working with an individual. And then, because while we were doing this, in other e-commerce platforms, people pay and then they kind of subscribe. But this is what we wanted people, everyone to be inclusive, because we knew that people actually don't have enough money. So we decided to let it open, but then it takes a toll on us, the people running the platform. Yeah, and then it was a difficult time. It's COVID lockdown, funding and all that, but those are the biggest challenges we had. But we are up there, we are going, and we are organizing ourselves, so it's going to be made better each day. Yes, and now we have just, I think 4 minutes. I want every one of us, each one, to use that 1 minute to tell us their take-home message, or what should we do? Our take-home message, what is our take-home? We start with Ramisho, please.
My take-home message is, I think just hearing from the other amazing ladies that we're not alone in Zimbabwe. Africa, we are experiencing the same things, but there's hope that together there's a lot of things that are going to change after COVID. We're moving faster than we were. So my take home is we're not alone and we're going to move faster after this.
Okay, thank you. Sylvia?
Okay, my take home is COVID has taught us a lot of lessons. And I believe that together as a continent, not as a nation, together as a continent, we will be able to fight it. So it's time we come together as a continent to put our forces and then our potential together. And then also, we should also equip our women in the agri space. There are women, they are doing much to feed us, and their voices matters. So we should ensure that there's inclusiveness. When they put something on the way, when they bring something on the table, we take it into consideration. Thank you.
Patricia, thank you. Thank you. Patricia, I mean, Patience, sorry, Patience. No, Patience.
Okay, yes. So my take home is that COVID has taught us that the world is indeed a global village. And so we are all completely and absolutely knit together. So whether in the US, in Africa, or in Nigeria, it has become one world. And so my take home really basically is that in view of all of this, and because COVID has come to open our eyes, we have to then make sure that as we
We've lost you.
Exist in the world, we make sure that, okay, so I'm hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so as we exist in the world, we make sure that we are existing and moving along with the rest of the world in terms of everything, technology, whatever. There's an urgency now for us to be able to do everything the way the world is doing it and keep at pace with the rest of the world so that we don't be left behind.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then Patricia.
Emma, we only have 1 minute remaining.
Yes,
but,
1 minute, please.
Yes. But ladies, thank you very much. Sylvia from Ghana, Ramiso from Zimbabwe, Patience from Nigeria, and Emma, who's been our able moderator from Kampala, Uganda. It has been an exciting conversation. We have learned a lot. But for me, my takeaway is one. African women are strong, innovative people. Okay, this doesn't mean that men are not. Farmers have generally showed us that when circumstances require it, you innovate and you're on top of the challenges. So thank you for sharing with us how you have managed to get on top of the COVID-19 movement challenges, how you're innovating. Please continue with these innovations, even when life goes back to normal. I hope that we shall be going back to normal. But keep the innovations in communication, keep the innovations in online trading. And next Thursday, same time, same place, please join us. This time we shall be hosting the very celebrated maize breeder, Dr. Mekir Abebe from IITA, and we shall be talking about how we can get agriculture to become resilient in times like this, still with COVID-19, with climate change, and how maize can help with our nutrition during a time of health crisis. I will leave you with one question to ponder. Did you know that maize, especially the yellow maize, can actually provide your body with all the vitamin A that you need? So those of you who have been stocking up on vitamin A tablets for supplements for whatever reason, you may consider going to the market or reaching out to these farmers online and ordering some yellow corn that should help with the vitamin A needs of your families. So thank you very much. See you next Thursday, same time, same place. And to our panelists, we are grateful. Thank you for sharing your stories with us. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you very much.